In today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on how the Outer Worlds on the Nintendo Switch looks and how it runs and how it plays. So, is it out of this world or is it a barren wasteland of a game? Let's find out. And also, I apologize for that really stupid pun. Let's get into it. So let me start by saying that I actually played and beat the Outer Worlds last year in 2019 on the Xbox One X on Xbox Game Pass, so essentially I was able to play through it for free. And I absolutely love the Outer Worlds. I thought it was a fantastic game. I give it a solid, I would say I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10 on my personal scale. I had so much fun playing through it. It took me about 30 to 40 hours to play through the game, and that's doing the main quest, of course, and most of the side missions. It was really that Fallout experience that we've been waiting for after the disappointment that was Fallout 76. So it was really refreshing to play. I thought the story was fantastic. I thought the side quests were very interesting and a lot of fun. It was fun exploring the world. I really enjoyed the combat. I really enjoyed the weapons, especially the science weapons. I just thought it was an all-around great game. The dialogue was just downright hilarious at times. And even when it wasn't funny, the dialogue was very interesting. I thought the graphics were really nice. The game ran well. It was just, what I'm trying to say is it was just a great game. I enjoyed the Outer Worlds quite a bit. It was one of the best games I played in 2019. And I was excited for the port for the Switch, not only because I really enjoyed the game, but also because I wanted to own a physical copy of it. Since I played it on Xbox Game Pass, I of course did not have a physical copy. And I was also curious how it would look and how it would run on the Nintendo Switch. Now, the last time I did a video like this, we took a look at the Borderlands collection and the Bioshock collection on the Switch, and those were fantastic ports. Not only did they look great, but they also ran great as well. Well, it's not so much the case with the Outer Worlds on the Switch. It's not a very impressive port, but I'm still enjoying it. So let's get into it. Let's start with the bad, okay? There's two bads to this from my perspective, okay? So number one is the game does not look very good on the Switch. You can tell that they had to make a lot of sacrifices to get it to run relatively well on the Switch. It's still impressive as hell that they were able to get this current gen game to run at all on the Switch. This little bitty tablet thing that has an old chipset in it from years ago. It's very impressive, but it just doesn't look very good. Whether you're playing docked or handheld, let's start with docked. Well, first of all, the game is it's pretty blurry. The draw distance is not very good. You can tell they had to lower the resolution quite a bit. The graphical fidelity of the assets have been lowered quite a bit, so there's a lot less detail in the assets all around you, and you can see it. It's very apparent, especially when you look at grass and walls and things like that. You can tell that they had to lower the texture detail quite a bit. The character models are not quite as detailed. There's a lot of pop-in as you're moving around, especially in outdoor areas. Indoor areas, pop-in is not as bad, but in outdoor areas, there's a lot of pop-in. There's also a lot of texture. I don't know how to really phrase this. It's like when you're moving around in the world, you can see textures loading as you're moving around. So you might be moving around and you'll see like a wall off in the distance, and as you're approaching it, you'll see the resolution and texture details of that wall changing in front of you as you're moving around, and it's a little jarring. They also had to remove a lot of the assets in the game. When you look at a comparison between the Switch version and the Xbox One or the PS4 version, you'll see that there are a lot more assets in those versions, a lot more trees, a lot more foliage, more objects. When you're in outdoor areas in the Switch version, there's no clouds in the sky, whereas on the other versions there are. So they had to remove a lot of the assets to get it to run. So there were a lot of sacrifices, and as a result, it just doesn't look that great on the Switch. Handheld mode, it's even worse. It's a little bit more blurry and fuzzy in handheld mode. Now, Despite the fact that it doesn't look as good on the Switch, I will say this, it looks good enough to play and be able to easily make out everything and tell what's going on, even in handheld mode. So I played the game for about 6 hours docked, and I played it for about an hour in handheld mode. So I played it for about 7 hours total. And eventually you get used to the lower resolution, you get used to the lack of detail, you get used to the lack of assets that they had to remove. You get adjusted to it, or at least I did. I got adjusted to it. It just didn't really bother me all that much. Yes, I would have rather played it on a console with better graphics, but I was still able to play the game, and I still found myself having plenty of fun while playing it. That's the biggest thing. I don't play games because they look pretty. I don't play games for the graphics. I play games to have fun. That is my #1 goal when playing a video game, is to have fun. And I realize not everybody's the same. Some people prefer games with high-end graphics. I personally am not like that. I just want to have fun. And I still was having fun playing the Outer Worlds on the Switch. Now, let's talk about the performance a little bit. So, for the most part, the performance has been fine. I haven't really encountered any major performance issues. Every now and then, I'll notice some frame stutters or some frame dips, but it's usually just for a moment. It doesn't last for very long, and it's not super jarring. It's like the frame rate dips below 30 just a little bit, it feels like. But this doesn't happen very often. Mainly in outdoor areas is where it's really prevalent. But to be honest with you, if the frame dips below 30 every now and then, and it's not very often, that doesn't really bother me personally very much. I know some people out there are all about that frame rate, so you guys, it's going to bother you. But for me, it didn't really bother me. The game seemed to maintain around 30-ish frames per second. And this is not a very fast-paced first-person shooter, so this game doesn't really need to be 60 frames per second, I don't feel like. I feel like 30 frames per second is fine for a more slow-paced RPG first-person shooter such as this. So, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is the game doesn't look very good on the Switch. That's the truth. It just doesn't. But it looks good enough to be able to play it. It doesn't perform as well as I would like it to on the Switch, but it performs well enough to be able to play it. Now, one warning, I have read in some articles and saw in some videos that they're saying that the further you get into the game, the more the performance starts to suffer. Now, like I said, I played it for 7 hours. I didn't experience this. So just keep that in mind, that there's a chance that as you get in the 20-30 hour mark, you may see a degradation in performance, but I can't confirm that because I haven't made it that far into the game yet, but I have seen some people say that, so just be aware of that. But, you know, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun playing it on the Switch, even in handheld mode when it's even blurrier. And at the end of the day, for me, if I'm having fun, I can ignore the other stuff. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to be honest with you here. If you have an Xbox One and a PlayStation 4 and you also have a Switch and you don't care about playing this game in handheld mode, I would say play it on the Xbox One or the PS4, especially the Xbox One, because you can get Game Pass and you can essentially play it for pretty much free, which is what I did last year, like I said earlier. So I would recommend playing this game on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 if you have those consoles. If you don't have those consoles and all you have is the Switch, well, this is about the only Fallout-like experience that you can have on the Switch. And if the Switch is all you have, I would say buy the game. Because, in my opinion, I think it looks good enough and runs good enough for you to be able to have a good time and a decent experience, as long as you can get over the decreased visuals and the slightly decreased performance. So with all that being said, like I said, Xbox One and PlayStation 4 I would say is the best way to play the game personally. But if you don't have those consoles, I think it's worth getting on the Switch. But that's just my opinion. But I want to know in the comments down below, if you've played The Outer Worlds, what do you think about it on the Switch? How do you think it looks? How do you think it plays? What's your overall impression of it if you've played it? If you haven't played it, I mean, you can tell me what you think about it based on what you've seen, but I'm more interested in hearing people that actually have bought the game and have played it. Now, for the rest of the video, I'm going to put like 3 to 5 minutes of just straight up gameplay from the game so that you can see it full screen on the screen without me talking or me on the screen, and you can see how it looks and how it plays for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and hit that like button. It really means a lot to me and helps out the channel a lot. If you're new here, consider subscribing so that you can join the RetroWolf family. As always, folks, stay safe out there and keep playing games and having a good time. Enjoy this footage coming up, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.
we go! Down they go! Let's go! We did it! Here we go! Nice one! We made it! All right! Down they go! Got it! Here we go! Wow, great work! The control room should be off to the right. I hope we're doing the right thing.